You and I are here to make each other happy. You're going to help me be happy, and I'm going to help you be happy. And our three guides are what? Are whom? Are who? Buddha, Gautama, Brother Lawrence, and Jesus the Christ. And we're reading from a book called Men Who Have Walked with God. It should be People Who Have Walked with God. Written by Sheldon Cheney in the year 1945 and published by Alfred Knopf. And we got up to page 79 and we were out in the rain doing it, and the pages all got wet. And poor Amadeus, the kitty cat in my lap, he got wet. So I'm sorry. We have to say goodbye to that beautiful snowball tree in the background, and we have to come in the house and turn on the heaters on the day after Labor Day in the Northeast. Well, it says the doctrine of karma led to an ethical code among the most admirable devised by people. He's talking about the Buddhist doctrine. And that's great. We need an ethical code. But I tell you what, folks, when you have it in your heart, you don't need a code. If you have it in your heart, you just automatically do the right thing. Isn't that a nice thing? And what do we have in our heart? Happiness. Simple concept. God is so big, 15 billion years of creation and all that. It is too much for our little minds to intercept. That word was introcept. So we understand God by happiness. We're happy and we give happy. With God we go to spread the joy of life. We win each day the happiness of love. We count our blessings, we give thanks, we give joy. Stop, stop the cruel, stop, stop, stop the cruel. So, more stress is laid on getting one's intentions right. More responsibility is put upon self-discipline. Our intentions are right. Our intentions are to be happy and to bring happiness to everybody else we encounter. In self-discipline, we're getting rid of self. We're getting rid of selfish desires. We're getting rid of cravings. We're getting rid of ego. More responsibility is put upon self-discipline. Buddhist morality is perhaps the most humane and compassionate of all the widely practiced systems. I love the compassion, folks. I just love the compassion for everybody. I just love it. Compassionate for all living beings. You read the Bible and there's violence almost on every page. I dislike that violence. But you read Buddha and it's peace and loving kindness. And rich giving and rich compassion and joy. I like it. The Blessed One gave point to his teachings, when coming with a group of monks upon a person who they said was too loathsomely ill to be moved or touched. Well, that's unimaginable. How could that be? He bathed and tended the dying man himself. Certainly. Absolutely. Those who have failed to work toward the truth, said the Buddha, have missed the purpose of living. Truth to him well, I'm going to say truth to him was goodness, compassion, selflessness, and controlling craving. The true purpose of living, then, is a mystic one. Deliverance and absorption, annihilation and immersion. Immersion in the divine, the absolute, immersion in happiness. For the individual, it is final liberation and emancipation. It's a great thing to be liberated from yourself. It's a great thing to be emancipated from those things that make you unhappy. It's a great thing to be one with happiness. To attain emancipation is to attain nirvana. At once, extinction and entry into elimination. Oh, I love it, I love it. Are we illumined yet? Yeah, we are. We know the truth. We know that everything is all right as long as we stay happy and keep everybody else happy. And that we stay away from evil. And we stay away from complaining. Hear no evil, speak no evil, see no evil, think no evil, and do no evil. Nirvana is the ocean of peace, unlimited bliss. Happiness is the ocean of peace, unlimited bliss. We forgot to set our timer, so we'll have to do that, because we get so immersed in this that we forget the time. And I'm sorry to remind you that television is a time medium. Everything is set by the clock. Here's the timer. How many minutes have we been already? We'll say 5, huh? We'll set this for 20. It comes with from baking biscuits. What is the special nature of the mysticism of the Buddha? It is, first of all, if not an austere, remote, and dehumanized conception of a soul experience. I don't think it is austere. What's austere about being happy? What's austere about being compassionate? At least the farthest removed from any experience to be described in sensuous or emotional terms. Only by forgetting the senses that are portals of the self, by repression of sense images, by escape from the nets of personal attachment, can one imagine the nature of nirvana. To us, nirvana is happiness, God. The bliss that it postulates is the purest, least tainted by ideas bred of mortality. It is existence in a heaven, abstract and starless. Well, I don't know about that, but I know about happiness, because you have taught me about happiness. It should be added, nevertheless, that the austerity of the teaching, as set forth in the word of the Buddha, was even by his own saying sometimes softened and eased. Well, I don't see anything austere about it. I say again. I think it's fun. And I don't think it's work. I think it's play. accepted literally, or liberally, literally, the admonition to turn the mind from all that changes to fix the attention wholly upon the unchangeable would seem to exclude love of nature. No, this is not so. No, that's just hyperbole. That's rhetoric. No. The Blessed One is pictured as looking upon a familiar vista of river and village and trees with love in his heart, and how we looked upon the snowball tree that way. Love in our hearts for that beautiful creation of God. God, you are such a great creator. And is not the compassionate regard for every living thing. This poor paper got so wet. We're going to page 81. Let's spread this out on the floor and see if it'll dry. Tacit recognition of a unity underlying all that is. Who is that unity? That's our precious dear God. Our hearts are filled with love for this great God. A sort of extension of the thread of the immortal. Let's not get into that. I'll tell you again, we've got the present, and that's all that we've got. We're not thinking about the immortal. We're not thinking about heaven. We're thinking about here and now. And we're going to make it perfect. And how do we make it perfect? That's right. We have the answer, don't we? Happiness. Don't you even for a minute be unhappy. Don't you let anything make you unhappy. Other major bodies of mystic link the universal element, that's God, in nature with the absolute or the divine, sure. On the one hand, they aspire to emergence in the absolute. That's what we're doing. We are emerged in the absolute when we pass on our happiness. On the other, they identify themselves with the sign or signature of immortality. Cut that out. We're just talking about the present. They detect the eternal and the holy quality in everything. I do. Do you? Such as the snowball tree. And their hearts stir toward it. Good for you, Sheldon Cheney. Beautiful words. The Buddhist may, and often does, rise into the meditation or abstract reverie that spells forgetfulness of surroundings and happiness. That's pretty extreme. But when he is free of that sort of intense concentration, he finds a source of joy in nature and feels a communion with people and animals. Good going, Sheldon Cheney. Good going. That's what it's about, a communion. A communion with God, a communion with people, communion with animals. Listen to this. He sees a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wildflower. That's a very famous quotation. You know where it comes from, folks? I think you do. From one of the greatest mystics of all time, William Blake. William Blake, a Britisher. See a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wildflower. Wildflower, it was the snowball tree that we were trying to videotape in front of when the drizzle all came down. Got us all wet. I think I'm drying off though now. This is a plastic hat, and the water was running right off of it. As I told you, I'm just another drip. Nor does he trace God in a cloud. He steps far short of the Taoist obsession with the beauty of the unspoiled nature. Even Buddhists' warning against attachment, quote unquote, to what is transient, which may be inhuman because it rules out personal love, is somewhat negated by the obvious affection that he felt for his helper and cousin Ananda. And he loved the monks too. And he loved nature, so this is all rhetoric, really. We go back to happiness, okay? We know what that is. We don't have to pore over this. Pour, P-O-U-R. The Buddhists specifically exempted lay members of the order from several of the rules laid down to govern the conduct of the preaching brothers, those who had given up the world. That sounds nice to me. That's where all our trouble comes from, isn't it? If we give up the world, we wouldn't have any trouble. He commended freely the lay members who decided against taking the monastic vow, and he approved of kings who ruled wisely, and he approved of rich people giving away their money while renouncing luxury and lust and envy. He clearly promises that these actively compassionate lay members are on the way to entry into nirvana. No question about it. What's nirvana? Happiness. You're on your way to happiness when you richly give, when you richly help. Apparently, he believes also that, like the monks, they may, while still mortal, know that liberation, that tasting of happiness, which is the mystic experience. What's a mystic? A mystic is somebody who walks with God. And you and I sit down every week together and we talk about walking with God. Simply walking with happiness. We're not doing too badly here. We have pages 83, 84, and 85 to go. And then I'm going to tell you about Brother Lawrence. You will love what Brother Lawrence has to tell you. Praises to the Lord, the Almighty, the King of creation. Praise him, my soul, for he is thy strength and salvation. All ye who hear, to his temple draw near. Join us in glad adoration. Isn't that a nice phrase? Join us in glad adoration. I guess this is only one page. And it's page 83. Perhaps it would be fair to say that the Buddhist places the emphasis upon the absolute. or happiness with a capital H, not on the I participating in the absolute. What this was saying on the other page is that Buddha didn't leave much of a description of these blissful states to which he attained. The higher bliss. And I say it's too bad he didn't have a tape recorder or an amanuensis, and that he could have described it to us. These blissful moments of being one with God. I would like to know what it's like, wouldn't you? Have you had any of those moments? I think I have, lots of them. And what are those moments? Moments of supreme happiness, exultation, ecstasy, rapture, joy, exhilaration, gladness. The average mystic, mystics come in average, good, bad, average. The average mystic of other faiths, though taken not out of himself at every experience of union, I like that, taken out of ourselves, that we have to work on together. Will you help me do that? Taken out of ourselves. At every experience of union. Union with what? Union with God, which we call union with happiness. With the divine, looks forward to further blissful experiences of that union in this life, all pointing, however, to final absorption. No, we're staying away from that. We repeat. The happiness is in living the moment perfectly. This very moment that we're in, living it perfectly. That's where the happiness, we don't think of the future, we don't think of the past. A perfect present will make a perfect past and a perfect future. Okay. The word nirvana, or nibbana, as it is in the Pali tongue of the time, meant, before the Buddha gave it a special religious or mystical significance, an extinction or a dying out, as witnessed in a dying fire. Well, I don't know about that. But nirvana is witnessed in being happy and giving happiness to others. It was used in the sermons to denote the extinction of the flames of lust, craving, anger, and the like in the life of the person. Good enough for me. Extinction of anger. But shortly it came to mean the whole process of final liberation and emergence into illumination. Final liberation from what? From unhappiness. And emergence into illumination. What? That's happiness. Deliverance. That has a good ring to it, doesn't it? Emancipation. Salvation. Enlightenment. In the final sense. All this is implied in the term. And to you folks in Rye, I send you pulses of enlightenment, salvation, emancipation, deliverance, happiness, strength, vigor, vitality, approval, success, attainment, achievement, fulfillment, satisfaction. All you people in Rye, the Rye Police Department, and everybody in Rye, And thank you, Rye, for cable casting a chat with Glendora so faithfully all these years. And thank you in our feeble attempts to bring happiness to the folks in Rye, New York. Rich Rye. The Blessed One made a distinction between nirvana and final nirvana. I'm not going to get into that. The Great Enlightenment. We're concerned only with the present. Only with the present moment. There isn't an excuse ever to have an unhappy moment. God just drops everything down so richly. The overflowing abundance. The opulence. That comes on us. And in a minute you couldn't count. This minute right now, the blessings that are in this minute right now, you can't count. You couldn't count them. It would be 10 to the 20, 10 to the 50. Okay, we're doing all right. We're on page 83, 84, and 85 to go. The discipline by meditation. Now you know that's true. You can get a great deal of self-discipline by meditation. I take this little timer and I push him down to 5 minutes and just meditate on, for instance, independence from the self, independence from craving, from covetousness. In just 5 minutes I can meditate on that. And it makes a world of difference. Let's do that, Wano. Let's do that. Or you can meditate on, your life really isn't work, it's play. You're not working, you're playing. The discipline by meditation, which prescribes 5 steps of preparation, appears in a late Buddhist document that may or may not be based on authentic utterances. It has, nonetheless, a suggestive interest. It begins. First is the meditation upon love. I love you because God loves me. I love you because you are helping me. Now that's not good. You didn't get rid of self. I love you because you are so great. Because you are a grand creation of God. Love. In which your heart is enlarged until it longs for the well-being and the happiness of every living being. First is a meditation upon love, in which your heart is enlarged until it longs for the well-being and the happiness of every living being, including the well-being and happiness of your enemies. No question. My heart must be pretty enlarged. My heart must be pretty enlarged because I long for that. I long for everybody's happiness and the happiness of the animals, that they be left alone to live their own lives independently and not to be exploited by people. I long for that. Isn't this good? First is the meditation upon love, in which your heart is enlarged until it longs for the well-being and happiness of your enemies. And the second meditation is upon compassion. Love is first, compassion is second. The third is upon joy. Let's do that, folks. Let's just sit down, put a blindfold over our eyes, cut out all the light, and just meditate on love. and on compassion. And then another day, 5 minutes on joy. What a difference it makes. I swear to it. Have you tried it? Would you tell me about it? The fourth is upon purification. Purify yourself of selfishness and ego. The fifth details that other prerequisite so important to mystics of every time and clime, a serene mind. Quote, fifth is the meditation upon serenity. In this you rise above questions of riches or want, of conquest or slavery, of love or hate. You face your... I'm not even going to read it because I don't believe in it. Indifferent to self, calm, tranquil, in peace. Thus you are prepared to enter the limitless light of truth, the limitless light of happiness. I love it. I love it. Let me ask you something. Do you know anybody who is serene? Do you know anybody who has serenity? I can hear your answer. No. No, you don't. I've asked and asked and asked and asked and asked. Do you know anybody who has serenity? No. If you have happiness, you have serenity. We'll stick to the minute. 1 minute at a time. A minute of happiness.